vendors out of any money. And yes, we're recording on this. Should have it up and have it posted sometime later on this afternoon. These marijuana accounts, it's going to be a tough process to get them approved. Where most merchants get funded on a daily basis now, Monday through Friday, these accounts will fund 1 day a week. There'll be a 7-day funding delay. They're going to hold back a reserve account. What that means is they're going to figure out what the 6-month rolling average is, and then they're going to hold back 10% of that amount. And that's probably going to be kind of a permanent type reserve until they cancel their processing. When they cancel the processing, it's going to take about 180 days for them to get that back. And whereas most processing right now is going to be priced someplace between 0.5% and 2%, the marijuana stores are going to end up someplace between 4.5 to 6.5%. The reason for that is Visa and MasterCard are afraid that the government will eventually step in, cancel them, and they're going to have to pay, Visa and MasterCard will end up having to pay a huge fine. A lot of risk in those accounts. It's a dirty business. We've done a lot of things trying to stay legal. There was a credit union that was started up to handle their money. The credit union government come through and took away the banking rights of the credit union that was set up. Where it will go in the future, nobody knows for sure, but at least we're trying to do something with it now. And I know there's several of you out there that are in states that are looking for solutions on this. This is going to work for a while. Is about the best I can say. All right. Merchant cash advance. Sounds like a technical breakdown of words and what it is, but the reality of it is this has been around for a very long time. When I bought my first car dealership back in the 70s, for cash flow reasons, I did a thing that was called invoice financing. I would sell $100,000 worth of in-house accounts that I had, and they would pay me 60 cents on the dollar on them. They would do all the collections on them, and I got my money immediately. So if I sold $100,000 worth of accounts, I got $60,000. That is basically what a merchant cash advance is. The merchant cash advance company is actually buying future credit card sales, and they're giving the merchant a discounted amount of that purchase up front. The merchant then pays it back. Thanks, Hans. I'm not even going to try to pronounce what CBD stands for, but you can tell I'm an old man for not knowing better. This will be a set percentage. So if one day a merchant does $1,000 worth of transactions, if it's a 10%, 10% is what they're getting back every day, it'd be $100 that day. If the merchant does $1,200, it'd be $120. It gets a little tricky because normally Friday, Saturday, and Sundays credit card receipts all come in on Monday or Tuesday. So you've got 3 days on that day, so it could be $3,000 or $4,000, and the merchant cash advance company would get back, again, 10% of that, which could be $400 out of $4,000. It doesn't accrue interest. There's no fixed repayment period. So if a business's cash flow drops off, it slows down how fast that money gets paid back. Doesn't cost them a dime extra. The repayment is collected directly from the credit card processor. We have got, we're associated with about 5 different credit card processors that we can work with on merchant cash advances. The merchant doesn't have to worry about pulling out a coupon and sending a check in every day or anything like that. It's just automatically done. Percentage is fixed. We try to keep the split percentage small enough so it really doesn't disrupt the merchant's cash flow. And that's part of the reason we look at normally a 10 to 12% daily amount. We want to deal primarily in about 50% of the merchant's daily profit off of that. That way it doesn't put too much of a stress on them. They can still get, if they're doing the right things, they can still get a paycheck for themselves. One of the unique things about it is there's no UCC-1 filed. What that means is there's no lien placed against that business. It's a personal situation at that point, even though the business owner is going to be the guarantor of it. They will bend over backwards to work with it and be able to collect their money. There again, that's the biggest thing to remember is no UCC. There's no fixed payments. It varies by whatever the daily processing is. No checks, nothing to do on the merchant side as far as making the payback. There's no upfront fees. No business use restrictions on what they do with it. It's unsecured capital, and it's real easy to renew. Some of the downsides. Some of the downsides are that it is a little bit expensive, but you're not jumping through the hoops with banks. Somebody asked what UCC stands for. That's the Uniform Commercial Code. It's a U.S. federal law that kind of oversees business lending practices. It defines things like how corporations can borrow money, since most corporations don't really have a true credit rating. They've got what they've got is actually called it technically is odds to pay back a loan. Whereas a consumer has a credit rating, it goes back and reviews their files. When you have a business, it looks at the likelihood of you being able to repay that loan, depending upon your tax status, depending upon a lot of other things. Think of UCC as the banking guidelines of corporations and LLCs. Do we have merchant cash advances available for Canadian merchants? We do. The process is a little bit longer and a little bit tougher to get done. The Canadians are not quite as friendly to this form of factoring an advance. We have probably probably a 10 to 15% approval rate on the Canadian ones. I don't get really excited about doing merchant cash advances in Canada. Do they have to be doing the credit card processing through us to qualify? That's the question I hate to answer, but the true answer is no, they don't. Do we prefer that they process through us? Yes. It makes it a little bit easier. It also picks us up a little additional profit. It gives us control of the situation. On the closing end of it, we explained to the merchants that it simplifies it all because there's a central hub that if they have a problem with the amount of money that the merchant cash advance company is taking out of their credit card processing, rather than have to call 2 or 3 or 4 different sources to find out where the problem's at, they've got one point of contact. It simplifies the process. Normally, those merchants that are looking for merchant cash advances are more than happy to change over to be able to do it. The majority of them have already stopped in and saw their bank, and they know from their bank that that they can't qualify for a loan because it's hard to get a business loan. So they're looking for somebody that is understanding of what they do. Most of the credit card processors out there know about merchant cash advance. Most of them think it's too complicated to be doing, and they just try to avoid it. We were the same way for a lot of years. So will we force somebody to switch over to us on the credit card processing? No, but we're going to highly encourage it. Any other questions before we move on? What makes us different? Probably the key that makes us different, we understand the process. A lot of the companies out there doing this, they will do 1 or 2 merchant cash advances a year. We've been doing merchant cash advances since 2002, 2003, right there in that range. We understand it. We have probably got 30 different sources for merchant cash advances. The whole key to getting somebody approved is getting them matched up with the right company. Each MCA company has their own set of criteria, the things that they like, the things that they dislike. And if you start shotgunning and by shotgunning what I mean is taking and presenting this offer to 5, 6, 7, 8 different MCA companies, they all can see that somebody's been trying to do it, and if they see 2 or 3 other companies that turned them down, they're going to turn them down because they figure there's something that they haven't found. So what we try to do, and what probably makes us more different than anybody is we try to match them up on the first shot and get them approved by just presenting them to one company. Once that merchant gets a reputation as being desperate to get a merchant cash advance and has been unable to get it, don't want to say that they're highly unlikely to get it, but the odds are against it. When we run across, and we'll run across those. Some of the companies that you guys will capture as leads will already have been to 2 or 3 other merchant cash advance companies and have been told no 5 or 6 or 7 times. We'll take more time. We'll interview them. This kind of goes back into my automotive days. We were doing struggling credit type deals back in the 70s, and the whole secret is knowing what the story is and being able to tell that story and sell that story to whoever the lender is. And that's basically what we do in this case. What makes us different? We've just been doing it a long time, and I think we're good at it. Other questions? Once the lead is a sale and a commission is due, is subsequent successfully upselling by the sales staff adding to my commissions? You better believe it. Once you get that lead, once you get that customer, well, once you get that lead into the site, it doesn't, it's your customer. Just because we try to sell them credit card processing to start with and say we're unable to do that, then we're going to go back and work on other marketing avenues with them. Once they go into our system, they're yours. Our guys, our team is going to be selling them for you. So what may once be a dead lead, what may come in as a merchant cash advance may end up going over and being a credit card processing. They may go over and be a lead gen customer. You still get paid off of that. We track all that. We update it in the back office portal. Howard should have sent over to you guys logins to this probably about a month or so ago. We're going to refresh those so you guys can see what's happening from the back office side. We've tightened it up to where it meets the PCI compliance now. So been a couple of changes in it, but it is up and running. And you'll know it as being under Pegasus. They're a back office software company out of Atlanta, and probably one of the top 2 or 3 in the bank card industry. Easy to get along with. If I have a problem, it's easy for me to drive over and see them. Other questions? Can you talk more about the marketing options through our terminal and with another processor? I think that this could replace having a mobile app for many of the merchants, for many clients. We can tie, and I think if I'm answering this right, if I'm not, let me know. We can tie our Groove POS system in with our mobile apps. We have mobile apps just like everybody else does. You can process off any smartphone, off any tablet, process off any computer. We can tie it all into so it's one point source. What gives our system more legs, is probably the better way to describe it, is the fact that it's got a back office tied in with it. I've got a merchant who is over in Auburn, Alabama, and he does popcorn sales at all the sporting events for Auburn. He has the POS system sitting in his restaurant. Then on game days, whether it's basketball or football or a track event or whatever it is, he takes his smartphone and he's able to run transactions. He actually takes his tablet now. He's able to run transactions while he's on site selling popcorn at the sporting events. His wife, who is back at the office and tracks everything, can see how many sales he's got. She can see how fast the sales are going on while she's sitting there running the restaurant. If he's going to need more popcorn or more inventory because sales are higher than what they expected, she can be ahead of the game and have inventory out there to him before he runs out. To me, that's part of what makes our system very versatile as far as those people that are using mobile apps. Does that answer your question? And I know last I heard, Steve, that you all did have a football team in Colorado, but they bailed out of the Big 12 on us. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to move on here a little bit and go into a little more in depth on explaining this and give you guys some ideas of where to focus on. First thing I want to do is kind of give you a good idea how you get paid. We're going to use an example of a merchant that processes about $25,000 a month in processing. Now, we base this off a 6-month average, the last 6 months of processing. So we take those last 6 months worth of bank card statements and we add them up and divide by 6. And when that comes out to the average, that's what they base everything off of from that point forward. In this case, the merchant needs $25,000 and he's qualified. He's jumped through all the paperwork that needs to be done. He's supplied us with 6 months worth of bank card statements. He supplied us with 6 months of bank statements. He signed the application and is ready to receive his money. So what the Merchant Cash Advance Company does, they purchase 145% of the funded amount. Now, that 145%, part of that is your commission and part of it is the merchant cash advances. So what they're going to do, they're actually going to buy $36,250 worth of future credit card sales. And they're going to immediately, normally within 24 to 48 hours of approval, put $25,000 in the merchant's account. Now, at that point, the very next day, the first thing that's going to happen is the Merchant Cash Advance Company is going to start taking out 12% of the daily credit card sales. An example is if it's $1,000, it's $120 a day. With this Merchant Cash Advance Company that I built this one off of, their commission is 6%, and that's what your commission will be. So what you'll get is 6% of $25,000 or $1,500. And that'll be deposited into your account as soon as we actually have to get 2 daily receipts back from the merchant. Now, we have sources that will do up to $2 million in funding to a merchant. If you find a merchant that qualifies for a $2 million advance, it will probably make Christmas for you. In addition to that, we actually have true loan products available as well. There are some merchants that need a line of credit. We can set them up with a floating line of credit. We can set them up with fixed payback products. We can set them up with non-credit card advance-based products. Main thing is if they need money and they qualify as we go over some of the stuff coming up here, we want to work with them. We don't care what it is they're looking for. As long as they're looking for money, we will work every product we got till we find something that fits for them. Questions about that? We try to be, my philosophy has always been that we want to be the one-stop shop. If I could figure out how to sell office supplies, pens, and pencils to business owners, we'd be doing that also. Once they get married into our system, we want them calling us for advice. We want that relationship so it builds you up additional sales. It builds up your portfolio of that merchant, how long they'll be with us, how much profit they bring to us, Ideally, we like to see 3 to 4 products to each merchant. And to do that, they have to be picking the phone up and calling us and talking to us, as well as us staying in contact with them. All right. Here is probably one of the biggest things we have to run into on our U.S. products. They've got to have proof of U.S. citizenship or permanent residency documents. I had trouble spelling it, let alone saying residency. So, an unexpired state license or ID of any type, unexpired U.S. passport, unexpired permanent resident card, unexpired visa, an unexpired work authorization card, an unrestricted U.S. Social Security card, a U.S. birth certificate, an unexpired ID card for use of a resident citizen, an unexpired My Employment Authorization document. That'll be about the only government-issued document that will not work is if they've got a work permit Social Security type card. And the way you'll be, and you guys won't have to worry about recognizing these, but it'll be a Social Security number that starts with a 9. That's the very first clue that we've got that we've got to do a whole lot more legwork before we can move on with them. Main thing is we got to document they're going to be around long enough to pay back the loan. Now, the Canadian products, they're a little more stringent. You actually have to be a Canadian citizen to be able to get advanced. We've heard that there's going to be some that some of the advanced companies are looking at other ways around that. But for the time being, as far as Canadian, it's pretty much hard locked in. But we don't want you all worried about that. Let us worry about it on your end. Get them into us. Because here again, fill that pipeline up. Get as many people into your portfolio. Let us figure out what to sell them in the future if we've got to. Main thing is get them into the system. But I want you to understand if we have to come back and tell you that we weren't able to get them a loan, that does not mean that they were a wasted lead. All right, here is probably the hardest one that we have to jump through. They've got to be able to provide 6 months worth of bank statements, 6 months worth of bank card statements. They've had to be in business technically for 1 year. We've got some products that will do people that have been 3 months in the business. We've got some of the products like to see them 4 to 5 years in the business. But this, again, the reason I want you to know all this is so as you're starting to focus on who you're going to prospect with, there are companies out there that will get you brand new business leads. Those brand new business leads are not a candidate for merchant cash advance. They're a great candidate for credit card processing, but not for merchant cash advances. Now, can we work with less than 6 months? Sometimes we can, but it makes the advance company a little bit suspicious, a little bit concerned. The reason they want to see that stuff is they want to know that that business is going to be up and running and it's going to run consistently. You can see a lot of businesses that will have had 3 bad months in the summer, and then all of a sudden school starts back up, and all of a sudden they're doing 3 times what they were doing during the summer. It doesn't disqualify them from how much money they can get, but what it does, it gives the advance company an idea of how the payback is going to flow. They'll still advance money, and they'll still advance a good amount of money, but they just want to know and understand. These are things you guys have got to know as we battle through this. I'm just going to go over this real quick. We've got to make sure that we've got over 50% ownership. Now, this is a presentation I use for my sales agents when we're bringing them into the merchant cash side of it. So some of this gets a little bit technical, but it can literally be as long as it's anything over 50%. It can't be 50%, but anything over 50% qualifies. All sorts of documentation that sales agents have to go through to get in. One of the things, and I preach this to everybody, is just because a business exists does not make it a legal business. Being in this business now close to 20 years, as a matter of fact, it will be 21 years in February. There are a lot of businesses out there that don't even have a business license. I have seen pop-up restaurants that have never been inspected by a food inspector. I have seen, I don't even want to go into what we've seen. We try to focus on those businesses that are legal and set up properly, are licensed. But we'll work with anybody. And when we find one of those businesses that's not set up properly, what we do is we start consulting with them and tell them what they need to do to make sure that they don't run afoul, first to the IRS, next to the city and state governments. Don't make any money off that, but it puts us in a good position with them to sell product with them going down the road. All right, here's the part, and I will send over, no, I lied to you. I'll have Jenny send over to you a list of these prohibited businesses and restricted businesses. A lot of these you can figure out why you can't use them. Here again, it kind of runs into the same thing as the medical marijuana or the legal marijuana. The processors are worried about getting caught out on a limb. Adult entertainment, easy to figure out. Annual memberships, there's a lot of chargebacks. Cash advance on cannabis right now is there's not an advance company out there that is brave enough yet at this point. Class 3 weapons, which are the true automatic, semi-automatic, the heavy type weapons, we avoid those. Dating services, a lot of chargebacks. Financial institutions, for obvious reasons, if they've got to come and get a merchant cash advance, they've got a real problem. Multi-level marketing, oil drilling, unapproved medical treatments, warranty companies. These are all companies that are at high risk. Brokerage, casinos, consumer credits, escort services, insurance companies, nonprofit, payday loans, vape shops. Now, a lot of you are going to ask me why airlines don't qualify. And the reason's going to be airlines go bankrupt more often. Large airlines go bankrupt more often than any other business type in the world. And when they go bankrupt, we all lose out because of the amount of chargebacks that happen. It's just a part of the business. So to get an airline approved to accept credit cards, they have a huge rolling reserve to take care of those chargebacks in case they file bankruptcy. And if you find an airline that needs a merchant cash advance, they are probably on the verge of bankruptcy. Here's some restricted businesses. Restricted businesses mean we will do them. We've got no problem doing them. They just have to jump through a few more hoops. Part of it is that when these some of these businesses, it's easy for them to go to the bank and borrow against inventory. Some of these businesses are huge chargeback and risk type businesses, but they're a good enough risk. If you get any of these businesses, just know that we're going to have to work a little bit harder, and the approval process will take a little bit longer. The reason I bring up the restricted businesses, I don't want to discourage you from working on them, but I also want to move you towards the businesses that work the best for us. And here's what we've got for the best businesses. And you're going to see a common theme between a lot of these. Anything to do with food service is good. Bars, restaurants, nightclubs, beauty salons, florists, dry cleaning, retail type stores, auto parts, clothing stores, drug stores, gift stores, hardware stores, liquor stores, tobacco stores, pet stores. Basic retail type situations are perfect. You want to look for, and I think I'll probably say this later on in these slides, but you want to look for that business that does a high volume, low to medium sized transactions. We talk about auto parts, consistent daily cash flow. Drugstores, consistent daily cash flow. Coffee shops, restaurants, same thing. They can about tell you themselves what they'll do on any given Tuesday. Also good, auto repair services, nail salons, medical practices, veterinarians, dental practices, and I must really like hotels and motels to put them in there twice. Hotels and motels are kind of an exception to the consistent date. Hotels, motels, and auto repair are kind of the exceptions to the smooth daily cash flow. Hotels and motels kind of go from feast to famine, but we understand the business. We know how that works. We know normally when their good periods are. We're going to ask them for a few more months worth of credit card statements and a few more months worth of bank statements. We're going to know when their busy season is. We'll know how to pitch that to them. Automotive repair, the average guy out there doing oil filter, minor and major engine repairs and things like that, they're easy to get approved. Where you run into trouble in automotive repair, body shops, transmission shops, heavy truck repair, and the reason is they do a few huge ticket item sales, and it's not unusual for them to do $20,000 one day and not process another transaction for a week. We kind of have a basic rule of thumb that we want to see a minimum of 10 to 15 days of daily batches of credit cards turned in. And the heavy automotive repair, the heavy truck repair, a lot of times won't fall into that. Any questions about what type of merchants to look for or what type of merchants to avoid? try to, when you're setting it up, when you're setting up who you're going after, also think about businesses you relate to. Because when you're making your pitches to them, when you're building up and first getting started out, you want to be able to relate to the way they're thinking. You want to be able to relate to why they need to use us. They'll see that as you're doing your lead capture stuff. If they see you, I look at it this way: if you go into Walmart, you're a customer. If you go into your cardiologist, you're a patient. Now, if you talk to a cardiologist about his customers, he's going to realize that you don't know what you're doing. If you go into Walmart and talk to them about their patients, they're going to laugh you out of the door. So those are the things, those terms, those little keys, words are important type things are going to be critical, and that's why you need to know the market you're going after as you're setting up your voice drops or your digital marketing. Hang on just a second. Let me bring you back to the screen. I thought I had 2 more slides. All right. Questions about, and I have talked way over to what I was going to, questions about things you need to know to be able to start generating leads, other than when will you get your phone numbers and when will you get your lead capture pages. Got to be somebody got a good question for me. Try to stump me today. I had a restaurant that had problems batching out last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I've been up and going since about 1. What we'll do, basically what we'll do, and I think I've talked to a couple of you about this in emails, is we'll plan on daily training, or not daily training. We'll plan on training on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are traditionally the slowest 2 days I've got. We're going to go into more of start talking about the right words to use with the merchant cash advance next Tuesday. By then, you're going to have you'll have your telephone numbers, you'll have all your the collateral that you'll need. We're starting to put together the PDF forms of handout stuff for those of you that are going to do cold calling and on-site type stuff. We should have most of that done by the time the weekend's over. I say that, and I'm putting pressure on my people to make sure that gets done. Any questions? All right, I've either done a real lousy job of doing this, or I've done a really great job, because I'm not getting any questions. Either that, or my screen has frozen. There we go. Is tracking all finished and structured, or when can we start to work? All the tracking details are, you should have tracking numbers, and you should have all that stuff by the end of the weekend. All right, probably an impossible question. Where there are any particular niches that are more likely to need this than others? I think we've got that in one of the previous slides, Allison. Everybody needs it. Can we do marketing pieces without Groove? Yes. We have generic bank card and merchant cash advance without the groove in them. And you're gonna want to use those, because the business that doesn't want to jump out and spend $2,000 to get a POS system is still a great customer. Steve asked if, with a $25,000 monthly average, they are eligible for up to $50,000. That's correct. Everything else has to be perfect for them to get 2 times their monthly processing volume. And normally what I will do is, in a situation where somebody's wanting double what their processing is, I'm going to go to one of my merchant cash advance companies that looks at daily receipts, which includes cash deposits as well as credit card processing. Is the 6% commission earned monthly? No, that's a one-time commission on that. But here's what you want to remember: that that merchant, we're going to do everything in the world to sign them up with our credit card processing. So you'll get paid a monthly commission off of that deal as well. So you'll be looking at a $1,600 upfront commission, and then if somebody's processing $25,000, you're probably looking at an additional $150 to $200 a month in residual commission off of them. Only one ID doc is necessary. Yes, that's correct. If they feel like, I'll say that 99% of the time, if they feel like it is a doctored up document, which has happened in this industry before, they may ask for 2 pieces of ID. But yes, normally all we're going to need is just one. What is the average merchant card advance deal closed? That's really a tough one to nail down. A lot of that is going to depend upon the business type that you go after. If you go after mom and pop type stores, you're looking $5,000 to $10,000. If you go after an established restaurant, you're looking $25,000 to $40,000. I have some automotive repair shops that will, it's not unusual to see them need $100,000 to add a couple of bays on. My advice is to look at 2 or 3 different market niches that you feel comfortable with, and look at what you think their cash flow is. Stay away from those businesses. Stay away from the businesses that look like they're struggling to stay open. Look for those business types that are trying to expand. They'll be the ones that can use the money the most. They'll be the ones that will renewals. And that's what you want to do. You want to get hooked on this so they're working on renewals. Do I have a point person that we can ask questions of when I'm busy on my day-to-day stuff? Yes, that person will be Jenny Mann, and I will make sure that Jenny sends over her contact information for you. Normally, the easiest way to get a hold of Jenny is by email, and she is normally real quick to respond. She gets a lot of stuff piled on her, but that's her job, is to make sure everybody knows what they need to know. Jenny's been with me since about 2000. I stole her from another company, and she just won't go away. I'll say that. Is there a difference in generating leads from using phone numbers as compared to filling out a form? Not real sure what you're asking, Hans. Try re-asking your. Are you asking is the closing percentage different between phone leads and form leads? It runs about the same, especially on merchant cash advance. The people that respond back on merchant cash advance normally need the money, and they're normally going to be fairly responsive, no matter how they go after it. On the bank card processing, my experience has been that the phone generated leads are probably about double to triple in being more responsive than internet generated leads are. And obviously the most responsive ones are if you're cold calling and knocking on doors. Those are by far the most responsive. No, I wasn't seeing the questions. Commissions. Are commissions earned monthly? No, commissions are paid daily. If you close if a merchant cash deal closes today, if the merchant gets funded today, you get funded on a merchant cash deal after we're able to take out 2 daily amounts out of their account. So let's just use Monday as an example to start with. If that merchant gets funded on Monday, on Tuesday we'll take out the first withdrawal, on Wednesday we'll take out the second withdrawal, on Thursday morning you get paid. If it is a credit card processing deal, when that merchant receives the terminal or receives the equipment or the download is ready for them, you will get paid the very next day. And normally on credit card processing deals, you are literally looking, if a deal is written up and in the system on Monday, normally by Wednesday it's approved, and you'll get paid on Thursday or Friday on it, depending on what time on Wednesday it gets approved. The other products, as soon as we get paid on them, you get paid on them the next day. All right, Hans asked, how often do companies switch their current POS systems? That's the neat thing about POS systems. That is normally a 4 or 5 year lifespan as far as true POS systems. Now, if they've got a credit card terminal, they are liable to, I think the industry standard is somewhere around 8 or 9 months. For us, we've been up in the 80-month range, and part of that is because we tie other equipment into it. If you walk in and see somebody has a tablet-type POS system, or they tell you they have a tablet-type POS system, it's probably going to be hard to change them off of that. If you walk in and they still have a cash register or just a credit card terminal and a cash drawer sitting up there, it's going to be easy to switch them. If a merchant comes back and does another advance, is it a new commission? Most definitely. Merchant cash advance is kind of like crack cocaine. Once that merchant gets on to merchant cash advances, they normally come back time after time after time. I've got one merchant that's been with me for close to 12 years, and as soon as he gets down to the point where he can get a new merchant cash advance, he does it. Doesn't even have to be all the way paid off. Some of the companies will let you do it at 50% paid off. Some of them will let them do it at 25% pay off. But yeah, they roll them over consistently. I will not tell you how much money that restaurant has made me in 12 years, but they do about $100,000 a month in processing, and they ask for $150,000 advance every time. So give you an idea. Hans asked, are we taking care of all the closing on our side? Yes. If you want to close your own, more than happy to let you, but that's what we're doing. We're doing the closing. All the numbers will be sent in to us. You guys will get a report on what's happening, and we'll close them. We'll let you know when it goes into once we go into a contract status with them, and then we'll let you know when it's approved and when they're up and operating. Are there any circumstances where commissions can be clawed back? From your guys' standpoint, the only risk of where commissions can be clawed back are as if you commit fraud. I'm not going to. I set this program up with you guys where it is a non-risk. Technically, most of my processors, I have a 6-month commitment with them, and I take the risk on that. It's just, in the long run, it's the right way to do stuff. You guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's our job to make sure that merchant stays in there and does what they're supposed to be doing. All right. Karina asked, is our credit card processing hardware mobile? The answer to that is yes. Is all of it mobile? No. We have true credit card terminals that have cell phones built into them. We have card readers that can go on smartphones. We have card readers that can go on to tablets. We have card readers that can go on to laptops. We have ways where the merchant can call in and get an automated approval on the telephone without talking to a human being. We also have ways where the merchant can call in and get a credit card approval talking to a human being. This business has changed drastically. I don't want to say I was probably the first, but I was definitely one of the earliest that figured out how to hook a credit card terminal into an old bag phone back in the late 90s. Way before, back when we still had the square brick phones. That I'm dating myself when I say that, I know. And we're going to see a lot of new technology coming out as far as the hardware. Mobility is a big issue. Obviously, with Groove, to be safe, we try to make sure we've got a secure connection because it runs into PCI compliance. But if a merchant wants to process mobilely, we've got a solution. All right. Thinking about service industry, landscapers, mobile businesses, food trucks, How can they have How can they process with their customers? Each one is a little bit different, but we love to work with those type of merchants or those types of businesses. Service industry, taxi cabs, mobile repair, roadside assistance, landscapers. Two things to look at there. First thing to look at is it a one-off type payment situation? If it is, mobile processing is the way to go for them. Whether it be on a smartphone, whether it be on a tablet, whether it be on a laptop. Something like a food truck. In that case, in a food truck situation, I would go with the Groove because As long as we can have an internet connection or a hotspot, it'll work. Now, when I think of landscape, yard work, that type of stuff where it is a consistent amount that's charged or a repeat amount that's charged, we can set up where it is a reoccurring payment type thing, or we can set it up to where it is a automatic transaction every time they do it. My landscape lawn service, I set them up so he can bill his customers once a month. He sends them out an email. He notifies them how much the payment is due. Tells them that payment will be coming out of their account in 3 days, and then goes into his system and withdraw and hits that payment and processes that payment. He gets paid once a month that way for his customers that set up on that. So the handouts we can use as a guide as how much we can say is how the MCA works. Yes, one thing, and you're correct in this, you cannot use the words interest rate, terms and conditions, or loan, because this is none of those. We are technically buying future credit card receivables. Some of the old timers will know it as factoring. You don't want to get too specific with the merchant as far as what they can do. You can tell them that we can lend, in the perfect case scenarios, we can lend up to twice as much as they're doing in credit card processing for the full month. As far as the payback amount, or the amount that their amount of future credit card receivables, 145 is about as high as it gets. In a lot of cases, say that customer wanted to borrow $100,000, they're probably looking at paying back 136% as opposed to 145%. That number varies upon all sorts of situations. When we try to structure the deal from our side to submit it, we try to set it at the quickest payout that we can possibly get, because we know that the odds are that merchant is going to come back and do another one. Main thing we don't want to do is put them in a cash flow bind. Early on, there were a lot of merchant cash advance companies that were putting businesses in trouble because they were doing 150% and they were doing it at 18% payback, and it'll literally just choke businesses to death. We try to be a little bit more reasonable, and at the same time, we have to ask for a little bit more from those that are a little bit more risky type situations. David asked if I can set up to do credit card processing for y'all. Yes, I've got a stack of emails Jenny's got sitting on my desk that I need to get back with some people about. We can set that up. Can I work it out on a barter system with you? Technically, no, because I don't handle the money side of it until we're not on the transaction side of it. That actually goes through Visa, MasterCard, and the back office company that we handle. Can I make you a brother-in-law type deal? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that for you. That is not a problem. Are there any promotional videos available? There are. And I'll try to get, one of the things I'm going to do, and I haven't had Jenny do this yet, I've got to get you guys set up so you get the, I call it the MWM, Mornings with Mike. I get feeds in from all of our blogs and news services that have to do with banking and financial services and all that. And I try to put out some updates on stuff that's going on every day. And I'll make sure that over the weekend we get you guys added into that. And we send out promotional type videos for that. We have tried to do ongoing and evergreen type webinars in the processing business. The problem we run into is that in front of the merchants, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of changes going on in the background. When you stand here on from this side over here on a daily basis, that's like the change on the marijuana. This come down, we literally were able to announce that at about 6 o'clock this morning. If I had to give a hard answer on the question yesterday, I would have had to say no. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I could say we have a solution. So we've got to be careful on those promotional videos. We do have some good promotional type stuff, and we do have some PowerPoint presentations on the Groove POS system. We have worked hard to try to have good marketing material on it because we've got a lot of money invested in that direction. But there again, Groove is changing. There are some things coming up on Groove that are going to be just unbelievable. We can't announce them yet because we haven't done enough testing to make sure they work the way they want. But literally, that's part of the reason why that I hang out in Brian's products and stuff. These are things that we look and add into, been adding into the Groove POS, is because we want to make it a one-stop shop. We want to marry them to us so they're so addicted to what we do that when their grandkids take over the business, that they're still with us at that point. Other questions? And I apologize for being so hoarse today. My salespeople say I yelled and screamed and hollered too loud yesterday, but the truth of the matter is it's got cold in Alabama and I'm not used to it. All right, any other questions? How quick can you start making money? I hope by next week you're making money. There are people standing by on the phones right now. All right, if there's no other questions, have a good weekend. Start writing down questions you've got about this. We will plan on getting this launched and getting everybody up and going solid next week. If you need anything, send me an email. My intent is to be here at the office probably all the way through the weekend and trying to get caught up on some stuff. Look for some emails from us today. If you haven't done the survey, go do it. See y'all.